Momentum is building. So let's see what the charts actually confirm. This is Bitcoin on Point, where I give you the only news that matters and the cleanest technical analysis to trade the best asset in the world, Bitcoin. And at this moment in time, Bitcoin is defending its monthly lows. Now, just because we haven't lost them doesn't mean it can't happen. But the real question is simple. If price does hunt the liquidity from last month, does structure break or does it hold? But before we go deeper into the charts, let's zoom out because the macro picture is getting louder. Japan's former prime minister says Bitcoin and crypto is a once-in-a-century opportunity. This is wild times. This isn't retail language. When former heads of states talk like this, it signals long-term strategic thinking, not short-term price speculation. Now, we've been talking about Bitmine in our previous updates, especially their Ethereum staking, because they are drastically ramping up their efforts. They have staked another 109,000 ETH worth 340 million in the past 4 hours, bringing its total staked holdings to 1.19 million ETH worth $3.7 billion. This isn't trading. This is locking up Ethereum supply. Institutions don't stake billions if they expect downside volatility to dominate. This is a key macro signal. Now let's talk about the UAE, because the Prime Minister said that Bitcoin and crypto is now a new sector for its economy. Trillions incoming. So what does this mean for Bitcoin? Well, it typically means state-level adoption. When countries integrate crypto into their economic frameworks, capital tends to follow. So when we connect all of these dots for macro, political leaders are calling for a once-in-a-century opportunity amongst Bitcoin and crypto. We have Bitmine ramping up their staking efforts to a $3.7 billion total with 1.19 million ETH. And we have the Prime Minister of the UAE saying that crypto is a new sector for its economy. This isn't hype, this is macro positioning, whilst price is still debating its structure. Now, with that in mind, let's head back to the charts. And on the monthly time frame at the start of the video, we was talking about the monthly defense support. So the last low from the last month currently sits at roughly $84,000. And this is a major defense line. It also ties up very close to the lows from April of 2025. So when we actually consider this, okay, Bitcoin is sitting on a key defense level. It's also respecting a trend line that it's been adhering to since late 2023. And if this trend line can hold as defense, then the macro setup could be coming sooner rather than later. All eyes on defending 84K for last month's candle close. So keep the 84K low from last month in mind as a defense mechanism as we head through the charts. And looking at the weekly time frame here, Bitcoin is sitting directly on the 100-week EMA. The last time price was here, the market eventually delivered a major move. And if we look at prior instances of either losing this EMA or breaking through it, this is where an ultimate decision needs to be made, because if we go back to the Bitcoin top in 2021, where we approached the 100-week EMA, Bitcoin closed below it, and that led to a 60% dump, i.e. the bear market, where we came into the lows in November of 2022. Fast forward to Bitcoin in 2025, could we have placed a local top in October? And be looking for that same 60% dump? No, it's not guaranteed. The only way to validate that is by losing and seeing closes below the 100-week EMA. Right now, Bitcoin is defending it. So is this another deep drawdown back to support before the continuation of the trend, where we've just had this macro correction back down to the 100-week EMA, hold it as support, and then look for a retracement back to the all-time highs? Or is this a decision point where we lose it and then look to come in for that 60% dump, very similar to the last time we closed below the 100-week moving average? But the main thing to take away here is this is a decision zone, not a prediction, guys, okay? Now, looking into the daily time frame for Bitcoin, it's still very evident, in my honest opinion, that we have this massive trading range, and we're caught between a level of support on the daily, which sits between 84K and the lows of last month that we need to defend. And then we also have the resistance at 94K, the daily sort of supply. So it's very evident Bitcoin is currently caught between a level of resistance at $94,000 and a level of support at 84K. And as of recent, we actually swept into this daily supply, right? Where Bitcoin's being rejected every time it comes into this point of contact within this trading range. So with that being said, the next point of contact for Bitcoin, if we are to see any further downside and rejection from this supply, is coming back down into daily support at $84,000. So the next clean daily reaction will matter, right? Because we are seeing the rejection from this daily supply today. And if we do start to see, rolling over in price action, just look for the daily support and demand that sits and waits below. And now with that being said, let's zoom into the 4-hour chart. And this is where it's even more evident how critical where we are at the moment is. We're sitting at $90,000, right? And in the last couple of videos, we've been highlighting how this was a previous level of major resistance. And Bitcoin actually got back above this level of resistance and has now seen a push up into the supply at 94K, right? Which is where we keep getting rejected on the daily. In that trading range, and now we've seen a push back to $90,000, and we are continuously hovering above this level. So if Bitcoin can hold support of 90K and look for continuation, we may see a retest back up to 94K supply. But failing that, if we do drop down, we also have this ascending trend line that Bitcoin's been adhering to since it created these lows in November. So if we sweep the key level of support, we also have ascending support that waits below if we see any further pain. So again, this is simply just another decision zone. We don't react right now. We wait for confirmation. And with that being said, zooming into our last micro time frame for Bitcoin, we have a bearish order block at 93K. And we've tapped into that over the last sort of few hours. And we've now come back down to this ascending level of support, which sits at $90,000. So it's a critical point, again, because we have the 90K reflection points that were previous resistance. And if Bitcoin can continue to hold this as support, then we may see a push, as I said, on the 4-hour, back into that 94K supply. But it would mean clearing this bearish order block and breaking through, holding it as support, and then looking for that continuation. But failing that, as we said in the 4-hour, if you zoom out and we do have this ascending support line below, if we do roll over and lose this trend line on the 2-hour, then this is a more likely outcome, resorting back down to the mid sort of 80K territory, right? So 90K is a critical level to hold as support. So either way, look, the market is building fuel. It's evidently not resolving yet. Now, when it comes to Ethereum on the weekly is trading between two large liquidity pools. We have a level of resistance and supply at this wick high at 3.4K, and ETH also has a wick low down here at 2.6K. So the key level to monitor here is $2,500, which was these previous levels of resistance in May, June, and July of 2025. So it's a range game. This is compression, but compression usually proceeds into volatility. So we're likely to see some sort of move soon. And I think as long as ETH defends at this 2.5K level, this is where we could start to see that next wave up. We do have what looks to be a potential sort of rising wedge here. And if this does break down, then it could be in confluence for retracing back down into the key level at 2.5K, i.e. if we do see some sort of, we are getting this compression here between those liquidity pools. And if we lose support, then this is where ETH could come back down to this level, get a reset, and then look for its expansion. So all eyes on Ethereum right now. The major level of resistance to break sits at sort of 3.2K. We have liquidity waiting above at 3.4 and also liquidity waiting below at 2.6 if we don't see a positive reaction. And looking into the 4-hour, it's very evident here too, because we have a bearish order block at 3.3K, but there is this ascending trend line, this green line here that ETH is adhering to as support. So it's been climbing up this trend line gradually since it marked its lows, and every time it's coming back down to it, it's seeing successful bounces, okay? But we have run up into the bearish order block on the 4-hour, and it does look like now we are trying to resort back down to this green trend line. So this is an ascending level of support. I can't give a definitive sort of price where it could come down to, but you are looking at the sort of $3,000 levels. So if we do see that retracement, it will be very interesting to see what happens next. Whichever side breaks first, it's likely to define the next sort of macro move. So When we put all this together, Bitcoin's monthly trend line is intact. We are defending the lows of last month at $84,000. The weekly is sitting right on the 100-week EMA, which is a critical decision point and could mark the next major outcome or direction for Bitcoin. The daily is caught in a massive trading range, and we've just sort of tapped into the supply at 94K and are seeing rejection from the $92,000 area. We have support waiting below at 84K if we see any further retracement. And ETH on the weekly is also in a massive trading range of liquidity pools waiting for a decision. So this isn't a market to rush. It's a wait for confirmation market. Now, before we wrap up, here's a quick update on our trading challenge where we are aiming to take $10,000 and to turn it into $100,000. Fully transparent, guys. We've already taken our first trade on TON, and right now I'm patiently waiting for the next high quality setup. So every trade, entry, exit, and decision is shared in my free Telegram channel, which is connected in the description below. Make sure you join into that, guys. And I'm also using this amazing Profits Precision platform, and this allows us to have a dashboard where we can track and manage every trade properly. So everything stays clean and accountable, and the Precision link is also attached in the description below. So my final words on today's video: the market is undecided, but the levels are clear. We simply wait and let the price confirm. I hope to see you in the next update. Take care. Have a good day.